Oh, you can't do that. The meeting hasn't started.
It's not a script.
We've got Emily, we've got our YouTube feed, everything is good. My watch doesn't tell me the seconds, which is really kind of a shame. Yeah, I think we're there.
Close enough.
Everything says 6:59, but I'm going to call the regularly scheduled Middlebury Select Board meeting of, what's the date? April 9th to order. Our first item of business is the approval of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Heather, seconded by Izzy. Any adjustments other than my addition of an executive session to discuss a contract matter? Any other changes to the agenda?
No.
All right, all in favor of the agenda as amended?
Aye.
Aye.
Good, unanimous. Next item is the approval of the consent agenda. On here we have our meeting minutes from the Energy Committee, the Planning Commission, and the Policy Review Committee. We have liquor license renewals. We have a letter of support for Summit Housing's application for congressionally directed spending for the Stonecrop housing development. And we have the town manager's report, including a lengthy document from V-Trans of improvements to the Route 7 Exchange Street intersection, the Middlebury College Lands comprehensive planning sessions, and correspondence. Let's move it first, Fred, and then we can
So
discuss them. Moved by Izzy, seconded by Fred.
I would only comment that without bringing it as an agenda item. that
Sure.
The scoping report on Route 7,
Yeah.
the original scoping for that was done 20 years ago.
Okay.
And it was just the intersection. It's really a separate addition that they've made to extend this all the way to High Street. And part of that road already has this wide shoulders that were constructed in 1974, 1,000 feet to the south of Happy Valley Road. There are already wide shoulders,
Mhm.
and 1,000 feet on one side and 2,000 feet on the other. You know, by making it a much bigger project, it adds a great cost to it for environmental study and will delay the ultimate fix of the intersection. And I wish they had been able to be separate projects in retrospect, but I'm not sure the town has much influence over this.
No, I don't think we do, but,
Question.
That's all I want to say about it. It's just
Yeah.
more delay unfortunately for new.
I also thought it was interesting that they included accident that was almost a mile from the intersection in their list of problems with that intersection. Any other comments on these items?
Is anyone planning to attend the college lands planning sessions and can report back?
I'm hoping to.
Okay. I'm not likely to make it. I'm just curious
Sure.
how it goes, if someone would want to share if they attend.
Fred, are you hoping to attend?
Yeah.
Great.
I'm out for the first one, but I'm gonna try to make it to the second one also.
Okay.
I think that'd be nice for us to know what's discussed in that.
Fantastic. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the consent agenda, please indicate by saying aye or raising your thumb. Aye.
Aye.
And there's a thumb. Very good. Cruising right along. We now reach citizen comments. This is a time for any member of the community to address the select board on an item which is not on our agenda for this evening. If you are joining us online, please indicate by using the little raise hand icon. If you are here present, please do so by raising your physical hand. Last call for public comments. Fantastic. Seeing none, we will move along to our next agenda item. This is, Emily?
Emily, I'm going to promote you now, so here we go.
Fantastic. This is a discussion of the request for approval of a Wright Pierce on-call engineering services for solid waste certification assistance.
Here she pops up. There she is.
we made her a, oh,
Yep,
there we
she's
go.
there. We'll delete
Hi,
her.
Emily.
Hi,
Hello.
so I'm realizing as I'm looking at this, that I only forwarded on one of the attachments. So we have the on-call services agreement, for Wright Pierce, which is the attachment that I actually sent along. And that is more for their background. We already have them through our RFQ process, as being an at-the-ready engineer for us to work with. So this is more for their side of the equation, just so that they have the paperwork in line. But then they also sent along the actual solid waste certification assistance contract, and I realized I never sent that along, so I'll have to get that on the next, meeting. But that's essentially what the blurb is for this agreement here, so I apologize for that confusion.
So,
Okay.
are we requesting to defer this to the next meeting? Or do you want action of some sort?
We could just defer it.
Emily, is there some timeliness issue with that? Isn't that due by June 30th?
We do, I mean, they could start, so they've probably already started working on it in all reality. But if we could, I don't know, I guess, what's the best way to move it forward?
How about if we authorize the town manager to approve this, including the additional piece that you would submit? Would that do it? Kathleen's nodding.
I'm good with that.
I so move.
Fred moves.
We don't have to read it.
Second.
Are we,
I thought Dan was gonna say.
are we supposed to read these, or say what we just moved?
I move to authorize the town manager to approve the proposed agreement with Wright Pierce Engineering for on-call engineering services, as discussed.
Second.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Emily, on-call engineering services, there's obviously fees associated with, for those. Where is that reflected, and is that already part of their contract?
So they submitted to the RFQ that was issued in, August, I think, of 2022. And so we're on a 3-year contract with a number of engineers. They're one of them. And so their fees are all reflected in those documents. I think it was the November 22 infrastructure meeting is where all of the RFQs are posted.
So
With their rates.
So this must be something additional than what was actually in their contract? So I assume there's enough, it doesn't have a negative impact, or there is funding for it?
There is, yeah, there's absolutely funding for it. There's, from our end of it, we already sort of have them on retainer, and it's the state firm that's doing the wastewater design.
Right.
But so the document that's actually attached here is for their administrative side of it, just so that they have that documentation also.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Oh, yes, please.
I think, I don't wanna misspeak, but the contract for the actual wastewater certification, I believe, was 23,000 for that effort. But I'll make sure to pass it along to Kathleen, and then if there are questions or concerns moving forward.
And that's an annual expense, or is that for the 3-year period, or
It's every 10 years.
10-year period? Wow.
So our current certification is from 2014.
Okay.
So we're up for a renewal.
Will this give us guidance for the replacement of the wastewater plant, or is this just making sure that it's up to the task right now?
Some of it overlaps with the efforts that they're already making in the design. So they look through operations and maintenance, they look through facility planning, things of that nature. That's why it made sense just to stick with Wright Pierce, since
Sure.
they're already a little bit deep in the effort. But it is a totally separate, it won't solve any of our design issues by any means.
Sure. Any other questions or comments?
Thanks.
All in favor of the motion, please indicate.
Aye.
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 Brian? Yeah, we're good. And if I do not catch someone who would like to vote nay or abstain, please indicate that. I tend to think we're unanimous when we're not always. Moving on, Emily, next up, compliance for the town's road and bridge standards network inventory.
Yeah, this is an annual certification that we have to complete, just to say that we have road standards that are approved by the select board and we are in compliance with them, which we are, so.
I'll move to approve the 2024 certification of compliance for town road and bridge standards and the network inventory.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Fred?
I see yours. This getting down.
You included the road standards part,
Opened it
the
yesterday and haven't
inventory.
opened a new one.
Is that something that just wasn't included, or have we seen it in prior years as a board, or?
We didn't have it on there last year, so I didn't include it this year either. I have it as a spreadsheet and in GIS.
Check warrants.
Okay, I would be interested in seeing that at some point, if that's all right.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. We have another step of this process with the state, that I haven't met with the regional engineer yet. So when I circle back to get the signature on that form, I'll attach the road inventory to that one.
Great. Do we also do like road grades, like the quality of them and all that stuff?
That's in GIS.
Yeah.
Oh, it's in GIS.
Like there's a scaling, like the condition of the roads?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Emily has that in GIS.
That's something that's lovely, and maybe if we could get an accessible version of that in a packet before too long, that'd be nice to see.
I will include that when we circle back on the next form as well.
Perfect. Thanks, Emily. Any other discussion on our certification of compliance for the town road and bridge standards? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
Aye.
There it is. We're all in on certification of compliance. Nice. And it's only 8:45, the stopped clock here. Thanks, Emily. I think that's all for tonight.
Yep.
Awesome.
Unless she has an opinion under the South Ridge.
Yeah. Well, we can call her directly. Next up is nominations to appointed boards, committees, commissions, and official positions, which I'm thinking is why folks are in attendance in person on this lovely evening. We got a lot of documents here. We've got a lot of great folks signing up to serve the town, and it's lovely. I feel a little bad for asking for attendance records and seeing that I'm near the bottom for my attendance on the infrastructure committee. You miss a couple meetings and suddenly you stick out like a sore thumb on meetings that everyone attends very, very regularly.
You didn't miss all the meetings,
That's true. I did not miss all the meetings.
like somebody did, but.
Oh. Yes, Fred?
I would just like to comment that of the incumbents who are not seeking reappointment, I think the town owes some significant acknowledgement to Kevin Newton. When I came to work for the town in 1981, he was on the planning commission.
Wow.
And I don't know that he hadn't been on either the planning commission or the zoning board or development review board for every year since that. And that must be some kind of town record. And I just think that the town ought to give some acknowledgement. And I mentioned this also, I ran into David Hamilton, and he agreed.
Yeah.
Wanted to do that. It's a lot of service.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for pointing that out. This runs into a conflict with our naming policy that we're working on in policy review.
You want to name something after him?
Yeah, we could name something after him, but we can't because the way it's looking right now, he'd have to be dead for 10 years before we can do that. So
Oh, no.
we'll see. We'll see what we get to. Anyway, anyone who is here for appointment who would like to address the select board about your interest in this position and what excites you and makes you want to do this, please come forward and let us know what's going on.
Nope. They're here for other
Please.
things.
Come on up.
Thank you very much. My name is David Allen. I'm interested in serving on the Conservation Commission. I've lived in Middlebury for the past 12 years, live on Washington Street Extension, and love Chipman Hill, the Means Woods, hiking the Tam. I'm a professor at the college and a forest ecologist, so I think my experience and background could help serve the Conservation Commission. I've talked to Andrew Lareau, really excited about the forest blocks project that they're working on, thinking about connectivity, and the natural inventory that they're working on as well. So thank you for considering my application.
That's awesome.
Thank you for applying.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in.
So, one question. We're about to have several hundred more units really close to the Means Woods. Do you have ideas about how to make that area more resilient for a higher use?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the Means Woods is tricky. As a biology chair of the biology department, I'm also on the Means Woods trustees. And so it's something that we've talked about. We've talked to Zeke at Summit about that and thinking about where those connections would be to Means Woods so that they're in a way that is working for Means Woods. And then, the trail network in Means Woods to accommodate that many people. It's
Potentially a lot
wonderful
more,
that many people have that access to it, but thinking about, where those on-ramps are. It's tricky because it's a lot of like wetlands through there. So,
Sure.
yeah.
Great. I'm glad that that's front of mind and that people are contemplating that near future.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else who'd like to talk to us about their applications, please come forward. We don't bite much.
Not hard anyway.
Thanks. My name's Eric Moody. I'm also applying to the Conservation Commission. I'm also a professor in the biology department at Middlebury College. I'm an aquatic ecologist, so my expertise is mostly in stream ecology. I do a lot of work on salt pollution in streams in Vermont, including like Barnesbrook in town here and up in Burlington as well. I've lived in Middlebury for 5 years since I moved here, and really just interested in, after kind of moving here sort of right before the pandemic, starting to make more connections in the town. I've got a son in kindergarten at Mary Hogan, and just excited to be a part of it and contribute to the local government.
That's great.
Great.
Thanks so much for your interest.
So, in the Conservation Commission, we have 2 vacancies and 2 applicants.
Perfect, right?
I wonder how that.
That fits.
Amazing. I love it. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Anyone else who spent some of their,
Actually,
yeah,
I noticed we actually have some vacancies that we don't have
I see that as well.
those out too.
Yeah,
Like, there's like 7 of them. We need at least 7 more, I think.
wow.
The DRB.
I know, that's a big
DIDC,
one.
sports.
Yeah,
Yeah, the Design Advisory Committee.
right.
So the DRB has an alternate, which would step in. I don't know whether the alternate's willing to serve full-time or whether we should continue to advertise. As general practice, I think we should just advertise for all the ones that are still open.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
they're gonna be all right, quorum-wise for whatever next business they have, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, Fred, the reasons why Jason stepped down to alternate was because he oftentimes is the civil engineer for many projects going before the DRB, so
right.
he has conflicts. So continue to advertise probably would be the preferred course of action, provide some depth.
That's a,
Use the text
Busy
service,
one.
Kathleen. Put a text out to everyone who's.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good. Are there any other applicants here who'd like to talk to us? No? All right, very good. So we have, what are the numbers here? A whole lot of people.
Andy, we did have somebody with their hand up, but
Oh.
they seem to have, put it down.
Okay.
Yep,
There
Robert.
you go. Hi, Robert.
Hello there.
Hey, welcome.
Hey, thank you. You know, I am on the Mean Woods Trustees applicant. And I had applied last time, and due to bedtimes and parental duties, couldn't Zoom in and missed it. But and then I showed up at the last meeting when you guys appointed Amanda, and just didn't speak up in time. So just wanted to chime in and say that I'm here and interested in being on the Mean Woods board. As my application letter indicated, I have two small girls who spend a lot of time in the woods. I'm a project manager for Red House Building based out of the Burlington area. And used to work in a previous life for a professional trail builder here in Vermont. Wanted to get involved in my community and be part of taking care of that amazing resource just down the road from me. And making sure that it's taken care of when those hundreds of people move in, and that's their gateway for meetings and children.
Right.
So.
Fantastic. Any questions for Robert?
No.
Thanks so much for calling in and chiming up. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys, appreciate it.
All right. We've got a whole lot of people here. What's the best route to make some appointments?
We just
nominate.
We're nominating. at this
Perfect.
time.
That makes some
I
time.
move to nominate the submitted applicants to the town boards and commissions and official positions for the consideration and possible nomination at the next scheduled select board meeting.
Second.
Oh, yeah, it's all
I think it
right,
should say
motion.
possible appointment at the next select board meeting. We nominate
Oh, yeah.
first and then appoint,
Friendly.
minor, friendly amendment.
You can do the motion if you'd like. So, I
Just change the second nomination
Didn't
to
I just-
appointment is what I'm suggesting.
didn't I just read it just like it was?
Yeah, but it should say
Possible
appointment instead of
It's-
nomination in the
okay.
second clause. It's good. We
Friendly
got it.
Friendly amendment, that's
Friendly
fine.
second.
Ben seconded. Good. The slate is moved and seconded. We've heard from those who are present and wanting to speak to us. All those in favor of this slate of nominees, please indicate. Aye.
Aye.
Very good. Unanimous. Onward. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you for being here.
Bill, you're up. I think so.
You got here in the nick of time.
Yeah. We're
Good evening.
Talking about some variable frequency drive pumps?
Yeah, so we'll talk water first, I guess. Our woes continue a little bit, but, so I petitioned a couple of months back, I think, for the PLC to be replaced and rebuilt. So now the VFD is gone. We think it has to do with the same electrical surge that went through the system. It's premature, but it needs to be replaced. The weld has been off for over a month. And we researched pieces and parts and where to get them and whatnot, and came up with an estimate from our go-to vendor, which is Pratt and Smith. They gave us two price options, if I can find them. One was for just replacing the VFD itself.
Yeah.
That's got a much longer time frame to get here because they're somewhat in short supply, so they're wanting to sell whole units to people.
Gotcha.
So we can upgrade with a brand new enclosure and breaker and all the connections and stuff. It costs $25,000 instead of $16,000, but the time frame to get it is 6 weeks instead of 14 weeks.
Okay. So 2 months extra running without this well
Yeah.
if we don't go for the enclosure as well.
Yep.
And we don't need the enclosure. This is early in the life for this pump?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
You said that this was premature.
The failure's premature.
So
Yeah.
the enclosure probably is fine and doesn't need to be
It is,
replaced.
it is fine.
Yeah.
And it's something that we could keep. I don't know if we'd ever have use for it again, but yeah, I mean,
Okay.
yeah. So, and then the second part of what was in the packet was, at the same time, we've been looking at redeveloping well 4. It's, I forget the numbers exactly, but it's probably producing maybe half of what it was originally tested at.
Oh,
And so we've been looking at that for at least a year and talking about it. And recently, because of all of the breaks and stuff that we had associated with the pressure wave that went through the system, we had one of our vendors who actually did our hydraulic study back in 2018 give us some recommendations, and one of their recommendations was to develop the well. So we've got numbers on that. I had 2 people bid on it, but one pulled out afterwards because they didn't have the right equipment to access it through the roof. They thought it wasn't out in the open, like just your backyard well. So Barry Miller is the one that gave us the other bid, and he has been doing all of our major pump work in the last 3 years, I think. He's actually pulled Palmer out, replaced the pump, replaced the motor, pulled well 3 out, replaced that. So, you know, we know who he is. He does good work, and he's very professional. So those 2 things, neither one are budgeted. And the rough total is around $75,000. I think it was 46 to redo the well, and then almost 26,000 for a new VFD with an enclosure and electrical upgrades.
Why is redeveloping the well so expensive?
It's a big deal. They take everything out, and then they put muriatic acid down in the hole and let it sit for a while. And then they have this, I think it's like an 8-ton plunger that they send down and move it up and down in the well and kind of break things up and clean it up. And then they have to pump all the water out to waste. So it's a process.
a little fracking of our.
Yeah, it's
Basically,
kind of.
yes. Yep, it is.
Yeah.
They're just forcing water out. So.
How many wells do we have in our system?
So we have 3, and part of what I wrote in the packet, one good reason to do this is to be able to rest Palmer a little bit more. It's really above what its duty cycle should be. And at some point, we'll be talking about developing a new well, hopefully, that's similar to Palmer, has that kind of production, because we're have premature wear on Palmer, and it's just because it's running 18 hours a day, and it should be 12 or less, you know.
Okay.
So we're going to have to step up the maintenance on it and whatnot. So if we can increase production at one of the other existing wells, 400 or 500 gallons a minute, it makes a big difference. So.
Wow. Okay.
Do the other 2 wells, could they, if Palmer was down, would the other 2 wells meet our needs?
No. Problem with the other 2 wells is they're both in close proximity to each other, and the way they're plumbed, you can't run them both at the same time. So there's probably a fix for that hydraulically. Haven't looked into that yet, but that would definitely be something for us to look at too. And even then, the way they are right now, I think combined, I'd get a little more than half of Palmer's production with both of them.
No kidding.
So once I redevelop well 4, it would be much better. But well 3 is maybe 300 gallons a minute, whereas Palmer's 1,550. So it's, I and others in the water department feels a little uneasy. I mean, we're putting a big demand on our water system every single day, and we're relying on, one piece of equipment, basically.
Might you ever reactivate well 1 at Palmer Springs? Or, well 2 is the one,
Yeah.
big one.
Well, one's gone.
4 are up,
It's gone.
but okay, but it's in the same area that has very high production. I just wondered.
That whole knoll right there, I think, is a good area to look if we start looking for engineering of a well, so. And to me, it makes sense even, I don't think you could do it in Palmer's building, but right behind Palmer's building, because everything is there. All the connections, all the plumbing, the electrical, backup generator, it's all there, and that makes sense. So then you're just alternating or at least have the capability of turning one on while you service the other one, and, and it makes sense, so.
It would be an awful, unfortunate circumstance for the industries in town that depend upon water to have to, if something happens. So
Absolutely.
I think we should get
Yep.
going on that
Yep.
supplementary need.
And does it make sense to try to improve the production at 4 versus looking at another location?
I think it does right now.
Okay.
It will give us data to go forward on. We'll see what increased production we get, and then we'll see how long that lasts. And if it lasts a year, it's not cost effective, right?
Right.
So then we might need to up our time frame for looking at a new well or something. So, but he sent. I don't think I put it in the packet. He sent a bunch of references with a bunch of other towns in state and out. I think he had both in state and out. That he's had a lot of success with this. So
With the redeveloping thing?
yeah, yep.
So if we go with the redevelopment, my sense is that would have well 4 out of commission for some extended period while they do these things. Does that give us the time window to just replace the pump rather than the pump and enclosure? Or does it
So
still,
it's
still make sense
it's
to
not
get
the
that?
pump, it's the screen on the
Okay.
casing. So that's what needs to be cleaned.
Gotcha.
The water can't get into the pump quick enough so it's not just replacing a pump would fix the problem. You actually physically have to clean the outside screen
Okay.
that the pump goes down in.
I think your question was different.
Don't know if that was my question.
Okay.
What I was saying is if we're going to be doing this engineering on the well as replacing the variable frequency pump, does the time it takes to do the engineering and I'm gonna call it fracking, even though that's not what it is, give us the lead time to source just the pump instead of the pump and the enclosure that we don't need?
My hope is that I can get both done within the time frame of the 6 weeks.
In the 6 weeks?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
fantastic.
Yeah, we've talked with Barry Miller and I mean, if we're talking engineering a new source, that's 2,
Totally
3, 4,
different.
5 year project,
Yeah,
who knows?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay.
But one only has to imagine how the voids and the rocks or boulders, there must be a lot of capacity. 1,500 gallons a minute is one of the most productive wells in the state.
Yes, it is.
And, choosing a site that has that geologic capacity compared to one that, well 3 and 4, where they thought about that as a well field, they could have a series of wells. And there's 70 acres or something there, but it hasn't turned out to be as productive as we thought.
Sure.
Whereas Palmer Springs originally has proven to really have the high geologic capacity,
It's impressive.
just saying.
It is. I mean, there are wells that you can't even come close to touching that,
Right.
so.
And so regarding paying for this, this is water department money. We are setting the rates on that soon?
That's probably up to Kathleen to discuss. I'm not sure how the,
Bill, it was my understanding that, Emily reported that there was some money available in the, capital fund, the water department's capital fund for these expenses.
Great,
okay.
Excellent.
okay. Good, we won't bounce a check on it. I like all that.
So,
Any other questions for Bill?
We'll see some more on that probably in the water budget and infrastructure here coming up soon.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about it because we also, I don't think we have any, upcoming water projects that we're gonna be doing, so we should be able to, look at our capital funding and maybe do a little bit, something different with it, maybe start engineering, looking at another source or whatever. Well, there's some other priority work that needs to happen at Palmer too. I won't go into details, but we should have a spare VFD on the shelf over there, because if that goes down and I'm 6 to 25 weeks out on getting something,
That-
we're hurting.
Would really hurt, yeah.
Is the one you're taking out repairable, or is it done?
Not repairable, and they're not interchangeable. They're not
Okay,
the same for each well,
okay.
so.
So you have to have a spare VFD for each well?
Most critical would be Palmer. We can limp along, barring a major catastrophe on the other ones like we're doing right now. But, yeah, we need to talk about priorities in infrastructure and see what floats to the top, so.
Okay. I would be curious to know where some of that falls and in relation to like some of the repair work, like Exchange Street and stuff. And we do have the South Street project, and we do have the holding tank project.
Yep.
So. And Bakery Lane project, that has a water component, but
It
it's not
does.
all water.
Yep.
Anyway. You want me to make a motion?
Sure, let's do it.
I lost my spot. Do we have to do them separately? Yes, there's two motions here.
Sure.
I'll move to approve the proposed contract with Pratt and Smith Electrical to remove the existing VFD and replace it at Town Well number 4 for $25,982.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate. Aye.
I'll move to approve the proposed contract with Barry Miller to complete the redevelopment of Town Well number 4 for $46,500.
Second?
Again, moved and seconded. All those in favor, please indicate. Aye.
Aye.
Brian, you abstaining on this one? Ah, there we go. All right. All in. Very good. Next up,
Okay, wastewater.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
yeah,
So, we have 4 basins, and in the very bottom of the basins, there are air diffusers that introduce oxygen into
Sure.
the process. Every year, we take down a basin, and for the last several years, we've basically just been replacing them because they get clogged up. We've tried repairing and cleaning and all that before, and this is the most efficient and effective way to do it. So we have been using this one vendor pretty consistently, been coming every year and asking for approval to buy these diffusers, or what, $25,000, $28,000 per year, basically, for 200 of them that cover one basin. We have used another vendor in the past, but we found them to be inferior products. So, we want to sole source this one, and then we want to look at getting a 5-year approval to continue doing this, since it's a process that we do every single year, and it just gives Bob flexibility on when he orders and, when he's got to get his storage space cleaned out to put these and all of that stuff. And we've done things similar with this. We moved to 2-year bidding on mowing and crack sealing, and then with our winter sand, we basically decided on a sole source just based on historical bids that were out of balance. So
yeah. Can you get any kind of inflation guarantees from them if you commit to a 5-year purchase contract?
I doubt it. I mean, they're going to be susceptible to same market forces that everybody else is, and so I wouldn't think so. But what Bob said in his memo is he'll continue to price and look and keep an eye on it, but just want to streamline the process on this because it's a big deal that they do every year. So
Sure.
yeah.
Huh.
Hey, Bill, this was a topic, I don't know if you were in on our board meeting about going to too many sole source. I know that they do a lot of specialized equipment down in the water department, but it does seem like we're doing everything sole source through there. It would be nice to at least have show that what we're getting is a competitive bid. So I worry about going to all sole source. I mean, we that's for the small stuff, but this is a $28,000 purchase. So, it's just a concern.
Yeah, no, I understand that, and I can look into that. I don't know how to compare apples to apples with these. I'm relying on the information that Bob gave me with the other vendor's product being inferior. He probably has some data on that, and I'm not sure how many other vendors are out there to produce these, but I can follow through on all that.
Yeah, and one of the advantages to like a multi-year contract, right, is that you don't have to find competitive bids every year. You say, we're gonna go with you for 3 or 4 years with some guarantee that you don't sell to us for more than you sell to whomever, right? Like something in there to keep them from overinflating because they know they've got you on the hook for the next few years. But that could be a way to reduce the onus of having to put the same thing out for bid every year. Is to set
Yeah,
up
I
a
mean,
multi-year on
it could be done that way. It could be, we could put out a 5-year bid and see what we get, and then try to figure out quality-wise, how they stack up.
Yeah.
So,
That's one of the things the state has moved towards is multi-year bids, and you typically are selling for less than what you would on a one purchase because you get locked in, and it's usually a discount off from, the way it works is it's a discount off from the existing price because you're gonna have price increases over the next 5 years.
Mhm.
So, just something to look at, but I do think we should look at the way we're buying this stuff and make sure that we're number one, getting the quality that's gonna last, but at a competitive price and not allowing us to just say, well, this is the best. That's one person's opinion, and certainly a highly qualified individual who's been recognized in the region. So we don't discount that, but I do think that there should be some data behind it and a spec that we're trying to meet or something like that.
okay.
So, and these 200 diffusers per basin, is that right?
Yep,
And they last about 4 years.
yep.
So you can just do the rotation and change them every. Yeah, there you go.
So for tonight, we're just approving one purchase, right?
That's up to the board. I asked for 5 years. I hear what you're saying, and yeah, we can approve 1 year. We could do a 2-year. We could, I need to go and talk with Bob and look at the information that you've asked for. So,
The motion in front of us, thanks to Kathleen, is for a 1 year. There's no extended,
That's what I thought.
okay.
But
here.
again, it's a $28,000 purchase. Okay?
Yeah. But we're not
It's-
authorizing.
It's a budgeted purchase. It's in
Okay.
it's in the operating
Then why-
budget.
yeah.
It's a budgeted purchase for
Yep.
a one-time thing that we need. I think I'm
year.
comfortable with that.
Oh, yeah. I
And
think
then
so.
we can talk more about a multi-year contract.
Yeah, I think that'd be good, but I would love to have more process around that.
Yep, we can do that.
If that's the right thing to do. Yeah.
Okay. I'll
Was that a
move to-
motion? Yeah, good.
I'll move to approve the proposed purchase of the diffusers from Aqua Aerobic Systems for the town's wastewater treatment plant for $28,068.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
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 We're all in. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Bill.
Appreciate it.
Cheers. Night is falling. So it goes. All right, a little parking discussion, one of my favorites. Yeah, let's go. You're Jeremy, I'm guessing.
This is Marley.
Excellent.
Jeremy, I'm gonna pull up the photos so people can see.
thank you.
All right.
So we happen to live on the stretch in front of the middle school field, so
Uh-huh.
we are very close to the situation. There's 6 houses, 6, 7,
I think 7 now.
7 houses along that main strip, right along the fields. The problem is, there's a ton of cars there. The middle school parking lot is typically still in session or still full of faculty and staff cars. So when those
I'm sorry,
field events start,
that's between.
there's no place for them to park at the school parking
Right.
lot. The dirt parking lot holds maybe a dozen, 2 dozen cars
Yeah.
tops.
Maybe 2 dozen, right?
And as you can see, so this is the biggest concern right here. That's at the intersection of Lodge. So cars parking on both sides of that intersection, which without anybody parked on either side of the road, it's a
very
dangerous
blind.
intersection. It's blind because of the trees on that corner where that minivan is. While there's a stop sign on Lodge Road, people roll through it. It's also hard to see.
Hey, David,
Yeah.
it's Kathleen, could you do a share screen?
Sure, of course, yep.
At this intersection, also, many people will drop their children off and wait for their kids to be picked up. And I'm the second house in on Southridge, and I have seen many near misses of children trying to get from the sport fields to their parents' vehicles. People can't see kids. It's usually this color outside.
Sure.
And it's really dangerous. It's become nerve-wracking to be outside.
I had a couple middle schoolers playing soccer and was there for, many games in the last couple of years. And absolutely, there are far more vehicles than there are parking spaces.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's increased with the grades changing to fifth, is it 5
Adding
through
6.
six
Sixth,
through-
seventh, eighth,
yeah.
Yeah.
And that it's felt very much so that traffic has increased along the road, and people are turning around in all of our driveways and backing up, pulling in. No traffic laws are being followed, which creates a very unsafe space for families and children.
And the strip of grass between the road and the sidewalk is not even wide enough for a car to be on it if it were an okay spot to park. So people are either on the sidewalk
Yeah,
or they're in the road.
right.
There's also damage to that green space, which is something that we as the HOA are in charge of maintaining, so it's something we end up having to repair. Some of those show some of the deep ruts. There's also cars idling, which is unpleasant when you have somebody sitting in front of your house idling a diesel truck for 30, 40 minutes. So it's created a thing. It's definitely more for the 7 lots that have this right in their yard, but we're here as part of the HOA. It's something that's come up the last 3 years at our meetings. We go round and round and round. We don't really have any way to enforce it. We understand that the school doesn't really have parking for it, and we're asking the town if there are any suggestions, alternatives, or ways that we can sort of help the situation.
Yeah,
One of the things that was discussed is could we come up with a shuttle from the Hannaford parking lot? That's a big lot that is certainly not used to capacity.
definitely, especially the backside bit there that's
Yeah.
closer, yeah.
Now, it's not a direct shot from there, you'd have to walk around, so could we create a shuttle for events or something like that? Or is there's really not any other nearby parking solutions.
Yeah,
Question two.
yeah, of course.
Chief, is that a no parking zone?
It's not.
So you can legally park there? So just as long as you're not on the sidewalk and not on the road?
Correct, as long as vehicles can pass normally. It's not
Okay.
covered by ordinance.
Doesn't help.
But there's not enough
Can't
space
park
for them.
in an intersection.
Right,
When
the
they-
intersection parking there is,
That's covered by ordinance as it is, but just parking the side road is not covered by the ordinance. It's not listed as a no parking zone.
If they were slightly on the street, not on the sidewalk, but slightly on the street, there'd still be room for 2 cars to pass. They'd have to pass more slowly, carefully. And it might be challenging down a Lodge Road where they're on both sides, but it would be possible for cars to park there
we can
and
make
not be
that.
on the sidewalk.
Yeah, we can make that a no parking zone if we want to, can't we, or not?
By amending the ordinance, yes.
Okay.
you could.
Heather?
We had a similar situation out in East Middlebury
Middlebury.
in the
Yeah.
Jack Brown field.
With the
Because there's
softball.
baseball field,
Baseball
yeah.
fields.
there's not enough parking there in a similar situation, there's just not enough parking there. Did we make that a no parking?
No, and that's been the perennial issue as well, is during baseball season, that the cars will find a place to park, and that's what's
So we
happening.
haven't addressed that one either.
The other,
So the only thing I would say is, if we're gonna address this one, I would like to see us also address that one as well, because that one has come here before and we haven't.
Yes,
So if it's an ordinance change, let's
Indeed.
do them all.
yeah, Fred?
the other instance we had in town historically on this was on South Street Extension with the college baseball fields.
Mm-hmm.
And the planning commission required the college to put up bollards. They ended up putting these massive posts and chains so that cars physically could not park along there without obstructing beyond the roadway to the hospital.
We discussed
College was
some of
not
that.
happy about that, but,
We discussed some of that too, if we were just to put up, you know, stakes and ropes, but it's just, cars are gonna come, and I mean, a lot of these are not residents either, they're visiting teams, so, I mean, I've seen a school bus park in
Yeah.
that, on the side there.
Yep.
Well-
So just saying no parking may alleviate some of our initial concerns, but it's not gonna make it go away.
well, no, and the burden on the police department to maintain this is a practical matter,
Yeah.
is
For sure.
a problem.
Well, if we just made that a no parking zone, then we're gonna have a different group of people in here, because we need to afford a solution to this, we just can't.
Fortunately, there's
just
a new
can't-
parking ticket policy on the agenda.
Well, it's true, but it still makes it so there's no place for everybody taking their kid
Well,
to a
what you
game.
need is not 2 cars there per kid playing in the game.
I agree, so you
that's
tell
not
everybody,
ours to
tell
solve.
everybody in town to carpool.
No, it's not, but right, the reason every car goes there is because every car can find a place to park. If it ends up that you're parking 10 minutes away, maybe you find someone to travel
And we
with.
can't very well offer up Hannaford parking because we don't own it.
Correct, right.
So,
Has anyone reached out to the school?
there's no parking there, right?
I don't think it's because everybody can find a parking space. There's a guy who coached for several decades in this community. It's because there's really good solid support for youth sports. And because people are coming from different spots, we have a lot of 2 working spouses that both want to come to the game. They come, they squeeze out of work so they can come and see their kid participate. It's not a simple solution to this by just putting a no parking ban. You better come up with some parking if you're gonna keep people from parking where they can support youth athletics.
Just as I said.
Yeah,
I would
and that
We,
is.
we agree with that wholeheartedly, that's why we're here.
try and keep people from parking without providing a solution.
It is wonderful to see the community come together and see their children. It's becoming dangerous though. Like, it's really scary to see kids running out to go to their parents' car and people are turning around in the intersection. Ambulance are trying to get up to the lodge. It's like it gives me internal anxiety just thinking about it. And it really is. It's coming down to the safety of our children and our community.
And our residents are also concerned, both residents of our HOA and the lodge, of just people not being able to walk on the sidewalk because there are cars
Yeah.
on the sidewalk.
Mhm.
So they're not able to walk there.
Yeah, my mother-in-law lives on Basin View, definitely is concerned with visibility at the bottom of that road
Yeah.
Yeah.
during
A
games.
little close to the
And
dead.
I'm a coach
but
like
it's
Brian, I
called-
totally,
I mean,
you know,
Yeah,
we don't wanna
school.
put an end to it, we're just,
Where's the
we're
money
trying
gonna
to
come
reach
from
out
that?
and broaden the scope of ideas for solutions here.
I'm not saying that it's great. I just am saying you can't just put up no parking and not have a solution for people to park.
Agree 100%. So when we discussed, do we need to make that green strip go away and actually put parking spots there? Or, what are some other alternatives so we can make it safer? Cause it isn't enough for people to be off the road without being on the sidewalk. And everybody's gonna park a little bit differently, so there's some people that are more in the road than others, so.
sure.
It's really, it's trying to find a solution that's safe, provides parking for these events, and keeps our neighborhood safe.
You have any ideas?
I don't have any ideas, but if I could add, I agree and appreciate everything that's being said, and the last thing that we want to do as a police department is dissuade And I can assure you the negative repercussions of using the police to deal with this situation, the group you'll have in here will be a very different, more angry group. So for us to find a solution that eliminating the green space and making that a shoulder area, that sounds wonderful to me. The idea of maybe putting in curbs, all that does is kick the parking problem down the road.
Yep.
No pun intended, to someone else who's gonna come to this room to complain. And so I don't think enforcement is the key, because we're sending the wrong message in that scenario by bringing the police out to be, bad guys. We can be the bad guys, that's okay, but I think this is a winner for us. And I don't think it's a winner for anybody, because we want the sports to go on.
Yeah.
Right.
We really do. So I think that I'm not, I can't represent DPW, but the idea of, we need to create parking. There needs to be a solution to create more parking that satisfies the needs of everyone here.
Metered parking that creates revenue to.
Yeah.
Good idea. So my assumption is there's no land down there that we own that we could make a parking area.
Well, the cost of construction, whether it's alongside the road or extending the off-street lot. I don't know if there's room in between the stormwater retention basin and
There's
the
not.
dugout to extend that at all.
Yeah, you're probably not gonna wanna park cars there either,
Yeah.
on the left side of a baseball field.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Only the brave cars.
Interesting idea, yeah.
I mean, one thing has anyone reached out to the school?
I spoke with Dustin recently. There's only so
There-
much they can do.
Right, there's probably
They
no
don't have
money.
anybody to enforce it either.
Right, no, I meant, were there any plans, in process for, okay.
I did reach out to the school district, and they said they're all ears for ideas.
Yeah, it seems
I
to be
think you would be
an
better
issue
They
that-
did say that they would
to-
reinforce parking.
to
in the
do
parking
something
lots.
about, to make this more efficient and more capacity and put some kind of
Would it be,
walkway.
would it be any help to safety to force parking on one side of the road? And put no parking on the other side? But again, that would have to be enforced.
It would have to be enforced, and then remember, these are $5 parking tickets, so some people consider that cheap parking. Maybe willing, we wouldn't be towing all these cars, that simply wouldn't happen. So I would never say never. Do a dry test run, just pound some stakes with no parking signs in on one side and see if that works. We just wouldn't have the team to enforce it, but they don't know that, right?
So Emily has raised her hand, so Emily, I'll just allow you to talk. There you go. You're muted though right now, Emily.
Hey, Emily.
So one topic that we've been discussing, in DPW is that sidewalk is failing in that stretch of roadway, and so we were talking about putting in curb and sidewalk to alleviate that issue, which would also prevent cars from driving up on the sidewalk. I think in doing that, we could look into engineering, I'm not sure the road widths there off the top of my head, and I'm not sure, I think it's all probably in the Act 250 permitting, so we would have to make some modifications with that, but, if we did alleviate that green space and looked at the road widths, we might be able to fit some parking in, but I feel like it is pretty tight.
Yeah.
Originally, that was supposed to be a tree belt. And then the developer at the time said, well, that's gonna cost a lot to put all the trees in there, and we'd have to add that to the cost of the lots. And not that this is an affordable housing development exactly, but, I just remember, that discussion.
There is a tree line on the other side of the sidewalk that the HOA maintains, and we have had to replace
You'd have to
them.
plant a lot of trees to
Yes.
keep cars from trying to
Oh,
park in
yeah.
between them, and they run over the saplings, and it's too narrow to really, and the whole asphalt path was another affordability thing for that development at the time. And that asphalt path goes all the way up to the Citizens Bank, over to Creek Road. You know, it was originally done for the middle school, it was supposedly affordable, and it could be a multi-use path or kids on wheeled.
It's used a lot.
It is
Yeah,
used very
you know,
frequently.
It is not in great condition.
That's a lot of sidewalk. It's a lot of money you're talking about, Emily. Emily's left.
We're doing real well with sidewalks on Exchange Street, aren't we?
Yeah.
You presented a difficult problem that the only thing we can do is talk right now.
It's super tough too, because, right, the two sports seasons, when this is in use, are like, what, 3 or 4 hours on a number of afternoons
Yeah.
in the fall and spring.
It does
And-
get used during the summer months too for club sports, and there's been
And there are parking issues then as well?
Yes.
Okay,
You'd think they'd be able to use the school parking lot in the summer.
right. And, yeah,
They
you would
could.
think that.
But again,
But being humans, they probably want to not walk as far near.
Yes, indeed. No, and it's just tough to add impervious surface for cars at rest when it's looking at the totality of the year,
Yeah.
such a short period that it's in use. And built infrastructure that will require maintenance and stormwater runoff and all of those side effects of creating parking.
I heard the words Act 250 in there too, so.
Yeah.
could we, so somebody mentioned that the Hannaford lots, obviously that's owned by somebody else. Could we reach out to that owner and?
Good luck.
Good luck, okay.
Well,
No, I mean, because there's, obviously, they can't guarantee there's gonna be 200 spots, because it's all just based on however much traffic is at any of those stores there, or Hannaford
Sure.
or McDonald's, but, I mean, I live there, that lot has never been full.
there's the class 4 right-of-way of this that was thrown up, Middle Road.
I will say, I'm a teacher at the middle school, and they actually contacted our school, the owners of that lot, to say that they didn't want parents picking their kids up in that lot. So that lot and then the orthodontist reached out to the school
Right.
district.
49.5 feet long.
So going into that conversation with that knowledge, you know, when we're gonna use it and, you know, what services are offered from that lot to the
Yeah.
school. Knowing that.
And we understand that this could be a discussion, but again, I really just want to share that it's about safety. Like, and I understand we
Absolutely.
don't want to make enforcement and bring the police in and put a bad name on it, but I would invite the police to come and just observe what's happening, to just see the gratitude of how dangerous this is for our families.
Yeah, I think we all understand the gravity. It's just a tough problem. As you've been dealing with it for 3 years, at least, trying to figure out, a piece. And, yeah, we've got this issue and the East Middlebury baseball fields that, it's similar, just the hodgepodge of cars all up and down
Great.
Lower Plains there. Fred?
My idea about it is too detailed to discuss in the time we have, and would require some investigation on site, but
Okay.
there's an old class 4 road, the Middle Road right-of-way, originally went straight down through here.
Okay.
That's a 3-rod right-of-way. You know, conceivably, cars could, with, you know,
With some angle
parking
parking?
in one way, all facing the field, they can sit in their cars and watch their kids in the morning, you know, and then
Uh-huh.
if they had some exit, it could be a one-way linear parking lot on the other side of the stormwater retention basin, conceivably. I mean, I have to go look at it, and someone has to, the cost of building that is the issue, just like the cost of
Sure.
any of the things we're talking about.
Yeah.
There's a little real estate there.
Yeah.
Who owns it?
I think the town may have thrown that up, that section of Middle Road right away. I'd have to go research.
You're
He's
saying
the
on
right guy.
On the other side of the stormwater?
Yeah, it's still shown on Google Maps as the Middle Road,
Right.
this strip here. was an old road that existed before South Ridge Drive, before this development. But
Very wet there.
yeah, all over Jen's clay.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Well, thank you for listening to us.
Thanks for bringing it to us.
Thanks for bringing it to us.
About as much circling we do as at our HOA meetings as well. It eats up a lot of time, but we're just still hoping to help find a solution and to keep it at the top of people's minds that we need something.
Yeah.
And, as far as enforcement, I think even if we just put something up around that intersection to keep people, that would be a huge help. Parking along the green strip is still a problem, but I've just noticed in the last 2 years, people parking on either side of that T, which is just.
On the T, I mean, they're
Just
they're
ridiculous.
everywhere.
That's just the worst possible spot.
You're talking about where Lodge comes down.
Yeah, and that
Yeah.
one photo just, on
Right.
both sides of that T.
Yeah, no visibility.
It's the worst.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know, it's one of those boneheaded things you see people doing, like,
Right.
how is this a good idea to you?
We'll send, we have no issue, I'll send, I just made myself a note to have the afternoon shifts try to go down there. There's several of us that have kids that play on those fields,
Yeah.
so we're part of the problem. But, we will, so
No trouble there.
ordinance and state statute already covers parking within an intersection, it's only 15 feet. That's also a design, the lodge, I believe, had complained several years ago, and DPW had gone and was looking to do some cutting of the green,
Yeah.
the trees and shrubs there to make visibility better, but if we see things that we can enforce, we will, there's no issue there.
Right.
We're not the bad guys for writing a ticket for somebody parked on a crosswalk or in an intersection. Blanket ticketing
Tree
of
stumps
cars
from-
parked, that's not gonna make many friends. Obviously, it doesn't resolve the issue because they're still gonna need someplace to.
No, I
But
wonder.
that kind of safety issue, no issue there.
I wonder more about just, do we put up some sort of permanent staking around that corner so people cannot park there? Because like you said, a $5 ticket, well, the car's still there, the danger's still there, if we're not gonna tow them.
Yeah, because we're not gonna tow them for that.
And it's
You're
probably not gonna be
really-
the same person next time, it's a
Right.
different visitor who parks it,
The school had shared, I believe, Kathleen had copied me, thinking that many of these are the out-of-towners.
Yeah.
The visiting team.
Yep.
So your point is well taken, that it could be different people every time. They're just desperately seeking parking. But maybe there's an idea there, again, not to speak for DPW, if they could put some kind of structure to help prevent. Because that $5 parking ticket is pretty cheap parking.
There's still a whole pile of those ashlar blocks down at the stump dump.
Yeah.
Or at Farhad's place.
They're just some stumps.
Is Lodge Road, is that a town-owned road, or is that part of the residence?
I think South Ridge Drive is up to the turnaround up by Star Point, Meadow Glen and those, but I don't think Lodge Road is town road,
Okay,
to my recollection.
It doesn't get plowed by the town.
yeah, that's a
There you
good
go.
indication.
indication.
Yeah. Yeah, and so the residents might have some interest in making that inhospitable to parking right at that intersection as well.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you for your time and energy on this. Sorry there's no easy solutions.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
Moving on. I think it's time for the skate park project. Come on up.
Be able to see that, actually, yeah.
What's that?
So, yeah.
Welcome back, y'all.
Thank you, thank you. Speaking of supporting youth sports, I guess
There
we're
you
here
go.
right on cue, right?
You've got better parking though, I think.
Yeah. So we're 3 of the 4 board officers for the Middlebury Skate Park project. It was about a year ago that Jill and Phyllis were here in front of the select board presenting just kind of our project and our ideas. And we heard as part of the other section of one of these meetings a few months ago that you all were interested in what we were up to and our progress. So we're here to report on that progress a year later, a year into our us as a nonprofit board. So we've got a
Fantastic.
little presentation. This is a variation of our presentation for our annual meeting that we just did. And yeah, so we see, as many of you know, what we're trying to do is build a contemporary concrete skate park here in Middlebury. And we're trying to do that by bringing together a broad coalition of partner organizations and building that in the heart of Middlebury. So this is where we were at the end of 2022, probably the first time that we came. We had about $6,000 raised. We had $5,000 at that point allocated through Middlebury Parks and Recreation. And after this year, here we are at $43,626. So we've made great progress, especially for kind of grassroots fundraising efforts. And we've been able to work with Middlebury Parks and Recreation to get an additional $10,000 into this coming fiscal year budget as well. So we see kind of what we're doing, obviously fundraising, but there's two other things. There's, a location, and we've got a great location identified in Recreation Park, and then community outreach and really support. And so many of the things here fall into those categories. So we've done a number of parades in the last year that falls into the outreach pool or phase, and getting our name out there, getting people interested, and raising awareness. And then one of the major things that we did that falls into both outreach and kind of proof of concept, right, is that we built basically a $40,000 asset here in the heart of Middlebury to claim the space that we're hoping to build the contemporary park at. And we did that, again, through working with a number of businesses in the community, all volunteer labor, and that kind of thing. So here you can see a number of the businesses that we worked with. Huge shout out to Silver Maple Construction on so many levels for really coming through on that beautiful asset. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, maybe you don't want to drop in, but go check it out.
Maybe
it's,
not.
It's really great. We had skateboards and pads and helmets for the eclipse, and so there were many people using it, and many people from out of town who found it on Google Maps and were checking it out. Yeah. Another great photo here is just kind of our grand opening for that Middlebury Mini, again, celebrating community here right in Recreation Park. And with a community asset comes, it's cyclical, right? More programming. So we're, Jill and Michelle and many other advocates are able to give free lessons on the weekends called mini meetups. And those are a great hit. There you can see kind of our all wheels mentality, right? You've got skateboards, you've got scooters, you've got rollerblades, you've got, what else we got going there? Bikes. I don't see there's any bikes in that picture. And we've been working closely with the United Way of Addison County. This is a great photo from the Days of Caring where we partnered with the Middlebury lacrosse team. And that's us kind of fixing up the interim park at Harold Curtis. So that's more street style park there. So that's a lot of outreach and getting our name out there, but we're also working on that location, and a lot of that is happening as we speak. So site preparation, clearances from you all, thank you, and from ACSD, and we continue with those clearances and getting that site prepared as we go. And then, of course, the big one, which is what we're also trying to do, is money, right? Fundraising. So we've been very busy. In the last year, we applied to 11 different grants. some big, as you can see, some small. We've been successful with a few. One was a Spark grant that led to the mini ramp, and another from St. Stephen's outreach grant, which we're grateful for. And we will continue to seek out grants, and the more we build our grassroots fundraising, I think the better positioned we are to get some of those larger grants, like VOREC, that could really make the project. And this is just one kind of mentioned grassroots fundraising. This is one of our huge successes. It was a skate deck art auction held at Note, and it's something very unique for the town of Middlebury. We brought in artists from all over the country, but a lot of local artists, and we auctioned off decks, and yeah, we got national attention. We almost shipped a deck to Europe. It ended up going to Texas for $5,000, so.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Nice.
Wow.
So this is kind of, that's what we've done, and those are just some of the highlights, and this is where we're at. So we still have quite a large funding gap. So current funds are in that $43,000 range, and we're still looking for $375,000 minimum. And again, that's all based on current trends for the size skate park that we're looking to build for the community that we're looking to serve the needs of. And so our main, looking back a year, kind of reflecting our main things, we were really shooting for the VOREC grant, which could have made the project. We haven't heard which communities have received that funding, but we've talked to a few partners, and we know that list is coming out. We'll obviously apply again next year and hopefully be better positioned for that, but we kind of have to rethink our strategy for a design-build approach, and we're kind of looking at a design-first approach to really let people know what it is we're trying to work toward, and then we are hoping that that will be a spark for our fundraising beyond what we've done already. So we have a few immediate next steps. We're kind of in a race for Better Places funding. You may all know that program. The Town Hall Theater ran a successful Better Places campaign, and more recently Cornwall's Cora project ran a successful Better Places campaign for their walking trails and pickleball courts. And so we are also going for that funding. Yeah. And yes, kind of where we're at. So that's a recap. I guess I'll give you guys a chance to digest that. I know that was a lot. And then we do kind of in our process, we do kind of have a current request, which is to seek the permissions from the Parks and Rec budget, and to use those to push the project forward in our design. All the skate park designers, professional design build firms that we've talked to have recommended getting geotechnical engineering and a site survey as the next step. They say they can do it, but they'll just charge us an extra 10% and hire somebody local anyways. So, yeah. So we're asking to use some of that $15,000 that was allocated from Middlebury Parks and Rec to move forward with those two crucial next steps in the process. Jill, Phyllis, anything to add?
We did talk to Kathleen about, when the 10,000 will be available, not until July. So we recognize that. We don't anticipate actually needing it until after that. But if for some reason we can get them done sooner than that, we will provide any extra, like a gap in the funding to pay for those if we decide to move forward with that now. So there's 5,000 available now. If we need to pay for it before July 1st, then we will cover that.
Right.
And I guess to end, we'll say thank you for listening to our year-end update, and also to ask, if you have any ideas or questions or thoughts on our progress so far.
Just for the mere lack of $375,000.
I know, right?
It's a great project.
Yeah.
It's a real investment in our children.
Right.
An economic investment in the town, and there's no denying it, right? I mean, you were talking a lot about the middle school sports, right? There's
Sure.
so much research about the need for unstructured play for children. And this is a great place, like a third place for young people to go and hang out with other kids and learn from each other.
And for adults too.
Yes.
I started skating at age 40, so it's fun for.
Nice.
All right.
It's an investment in children.
Well,
and
you certainly have
adults, you know.
a lot of community support. I mean, it's just fun to read about and hear about and see and stuff like that. And there's only takes one person in this town to write a check.
Do you know that person?
Somewhere we-
No, but you should be looking for them.
Yeah, we're trying. We are.
Yeah.
We are.
People looking for that person.
I mean, this town is very generous, and we're doing big things and have done big things, and this is a big thing that doesn't cost a whole lot of money.
Yeah. If I had won Mega Millions on Saturday, this would definitely be funded today. Alas. Yeah, thanks. This is exciting, and I think it makes sense to begin with these steps to continue having action on that site and fleshing out the vision for the completed project.
There's several companies that are around town that could do the engineering. All you have to do is convince their kids to start wanting a skate park, and maybe that would help. Right.
Yeah, right.
And the children of the concrete suppliers would help.
That would help too.
Indeed.
So do you need anything from us? Kathleen, do we need to make a motion I mean, that money's already appropriated to them. Do we need to do anything?
Right, with the board's consensus, we could go ahead and contact engineers and surveying firms that are on our pre-qualified list for proposals and come back to you with that.
We talked with Emily also about this, and
Okay.
she had talked for other projects to geotechnical firms, and they were scheduling pretty far out. So on her suggestion, we were gonna write an RFQ just to widen the net, to see if there were any other companies that could come forward and do the work sooner. The big, why we're in a bit of a hurry is because of Better Places, which, it's ending. They're running out of funding. And so that, if we are approved to move forward, which we need to get our permits rolling with Act 250 zoning, which we're in the process of right now. If we do get that, and we get that money in June 30th, we need to have it spent within a year. And so that's kind of why we're trying to get things moving a little quicker. So that's why we were gonna potentially publish an RFQ for the geotech and the site survey, just to see if we can get bids in that might come in faster. Because Emily did show us the list of approved companies that do that. So yeah.
Cool.
So we're leaving this that you're gonna continue to
So
working with,
We'll bring you back a proposal to approve going forward.
Okay.
okay,
Okay.
Great.
So we don't need to have a vote on release of the funds, since they're already allocated to that. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Fantastic.
Perfect.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing
Great.
this.
Well, David,
Alrighty.
well, a little,
Hello, everybody.
a little update on our parking appeals.
Sure. So, quick summary. Our police chief as part of his new role with the police department, was going over some of the policies that have long been standing. One of them related to parking ticket appeals in this town. So we had some initial discussions about just what it looked like, and we ended up, the select board authorized the policy review committee to dig into it. We put together a set of reforms that you see in front of you, which the policy review committee approved. Essentially, it's a handful of changes. I guess first and foremost, right now you have a process where you have to appeal in writing. You get 10 days to appeal. If you seek that appeal, you have a sit-down conversation with the police chief about your parking tickets.
Talk it out.
You settle the matter. It literally says settle the matter. And all of that raises a couple of issues. First off, as the chief I'm sure will point out, right now you've got the police department issuing the ticket, then handling the appeal by themselves, then collecting the fine, right? So that sort of separation of authorities is probably something we always want to seek out. Second, there's no reason why somebody can't submit this kind of thing on the town's website. Just, it would be shot out as an email to the police department. So letting it be in writing, I guess the biggest thing is it shifts it from a in-person discussion to just a review. And the review wouldn't be done just by the police chief, who was, in theory is the same person supervising the person who issued it. As needed, and it only happens a dozen times a year. I think that was the number. We're not talking about some huge burden. If an appeal comes in, we'll have a three-person panel, somebody from police, somebody from the manager's office, somebody from public health and safety committee. It shouldn't take more than a few minutes to review. This is not some complicated, legal matter. And lastly, we tried to add in some sort of standard. There are circumstances we can all think of where somebody may get a ticket and there's a reason for overturning it. If an officer told you could park there and then you got a ticket because the parking enforcement person came down the road and gave you a ticket, that's reasonable. If the sign was blocked or if it was missing, that's on us, sort of thing. But providing some sort of written standard is always kind of helpful for people making sort of quasi-judicial decisions. So that's what's in front of you, a quick summary, and then the languages that would be changing. You can see it in the green is the version right now. The yellow is what it would look like if it were changed. We did take a look at a number of other towns around Vermont, similar sized, and nobody else that we could find was doing this in-person discussion. It's all just put it in writing.
Figure.
We'll give you a written response. If you want to appeal, there's another layer. Some towns send you to the local court. Some towns send you to a larger. I think you mentioned that Hanley never even remembered there being an appeal. That second level is not too often.
I have never heard of one because the existing policy, which I found in the archives, said that you would be the appellate body.
Right.
And I cannot imagine you want your agenda cluttered to hear $5 parking ticket appeals. And so I'm not aware. I had never heard of that happening. Maybe it had. I don't know.
$50,000 well repairs and $5 parking tickets. Amazing.
So that's just it. So before I go any further, any thoughts or questions or?
My only concern is that these archives of theoretically authoritative documents feels like they might be a little scattered among the around your office at this point.
So no, this was the anomaly.
Okay.
And the fact that I found it was nothing short of miraculous, because it's dated 1993, and
typed
August 1st, 1993, and this was indeed done on a typewriter. And we have a very comprehensive policy manual at the police department. We always have, and it's very well managed, very well indexed. And I found a reference to this in a training manual for a parking enforcement person. And so I immediately went to our policy manual and said, I'm not finding this policy. And I started digging through some files, and I found the actual policy. And it's the only place I've ever seen reference made officially to this appeal process. So whatever happened back in 1993,
yeah,
where they came up with this. Times were very different back in 1993.
Well, when did Hanley come?
1991.
Oh. Blame it on Watson.
And this would take the select board out of the process. It would, in theory, go to the full committee of the public health and safety, but again, that's a little more of an academic. It's unlikely that once in every few years we
Right.
might get one. It's
A lot of work for a $5 ticket.
And which people will argue them.
Sure.
So I've had, I think I've had 9 parking ticket appeals. Granted, now, that's just September 18th when I
Yeah.
assumed my new position. We haven't had a parking enforcement person
Right.
in now, since July. We haven't. I'm interviewing for 2 people tomorrow, as a matter of fact. That will change this dynamic a little bit when we have someone working 25 hours a week during the spring, summer, fall months issuing tickets, because right now the only tickets, our patrol officers are not focused on parking. That's not
Thank
what they do,
goodness.
other than winter parking ban.
Yeah.
That's a whole separate conversation for another day. But David had asked me today a very valid question, how many, what are the average parking tickets written by that parking enforcement? I was surprised. And last year that we had one, it was over 900.
Really?
And I don't have records for how many appeals were filed for those, but those are downtown parking issues. Those will mostly be time violations, things like that. That is directly linked to the amount of enforcement that's going on.
Sure.
And so parking tickets, people do contest $5 parking tickets. There are those that, like I keep saying, consider that cheap parking, and they'll pay it happily to park. It's a lot cheaper than parking in Boston. So but the appeal, I think this is a simple fix for a problem that's just for a mechanism that's very antiquated. And even I've had 9 ticket appeals. Those have been, I think, all winter parking ban, because it's really the parking enforcement that we're doing.
You have settled the matter.
Settle the matter. Not so simply, as Kathleen can attest, because she's been on the receiving end of some of this, but that was more over a tow. Towing
Sure.
is a little bit pricier.
That's right.
But these parking ticket appeals have been, I had a broken leg, and it was the closest parking, okay, or, someone from the town was plowing and told me once they plowed that space I could park there. That hadn't gotten communicated to the officers, so they just didn't know, so fine, just no problem dismissing those tickets. So that's what most of it is. For like time violations, I have not experienced any of those appeals yet, but I really, just to remove me as the sole arbiter of this, being the enforcement arm and the judicial arm, that doesn't work. I'd rather not settle any matters. This will be, I envision this as just the first phase of a revision of the parking ordinance as a whole.
Sure.
It is time, I believe. There are some things in the parking ordinance that are just downright inaccurate, or signs don't match ordinance, things like that. Those are simple fixes, but addressing winter parking ban, addressing the fee schedule has come up. But this would be my first want, because it does not, in any sense, feel right for the police department to hear its own appeals, to investigate itself.
Yes.
Well, I think what you worked up looks good.
Is that a motion?
I would move to approve the proposed policy changes for the town's parking ticket appeals process.
Second.
All right. Any other discussion? Any thoughts from those who haven't voiced yet? Brian, Heather?
No,
We're all good? Okay. Let's have a vote.
seems reasonable to me.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very good. All right. We have a modern parking ticket appeal process.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck with your interview process tomorrow.
I need
Yeah.
it. It's a tough position to hire for.
For sure.
But we need it.
So it's my understanding that in places with metered parking, the enterprise fund that handles that tends to be kind of a wash. The cost of enforcement and capital kind of is paid for by quarters and fines. Is that?
I have no experience with it. I have done some very preliminary work looking at just electronic parking ticket systems, and I can't believe that we would generate, it would be wonderful, but we don't have especially with $5 parking tickets.
Right.
And it's not, the purpose of the parking enforcement isn't revenue generation, it's
Rotation.
behavior.
Yeah.
It's addressing behavior to make parking available, equally, fairly available to everyone, let nobody monopolize the spaces, but I still be hard pressed to think we would be able to. I'd be much more interested if we were gonna spend the money on blinking lights for winter parking ban.
Which,
That's
yeah.
what I would be much more
I think
interested
is great, yeah.
than meters.
Do you have a sense of how many nights this past winter we would have had a winter parking ban?
We only tow
Mhm.
at the request of DPW when they're actively doing snow removal and they ask for us to tow, otherwise we just
Right.
take it, we don't tow. Maybe 5.
Okay.
Maybe 5.
Yeah.
We didn't have that, and that's, the timing of winter parking ban seems almost arbitrary now, November 1st to April 1st.
Yeah, November 1st seems almost ridiculous with our current winter.
Nowadays.
Yeah.
I think the number of storms you've had in April.
We just
Right.
had one.
No, indeed. And-
Right,
and-
so there's always that anomaly.
Yeah, right.
um,
Okay.
And
No, it seems to make a ton of sense to have a policy that can turn on and off depending on the weather.
There was a parking study done with a fee appendix to it. I think David has seen. Downtown Improvement District Commission helped fund this some years ago. That was an idea whose time had not yet come.
Hmm.
Free parking was viewed by the downtown folks as being a great asset. But there are many communities that are smaller than Middlebury that have somehow made that transition. And with the modern method of paying for it by a card or being able to time it, or how the downtown association be able to say free parking today in hopes of luring those folks from New Hampshire for free parking, there are peak times. And usually the end of summer was the peak parking time, and then peak places, Park Street, Merchants Row, and so forth, that you might start those. And the chief issue was to try to get the people who work all day in the downtown to not park in those prime spaces. Politically, it was an idea whose time had not yet come back.
Kathleen preemptively met with the downtown business folks back in the fall to see if they were amenable to the idea of raising the fines. That has come up time and time again, that we're not deterring
Sure.
much with these fines as they exist, and Kathleen had gotten some positive feedback. The downtown business owners are some of our most frequent callers with parking complaints, saying,
Of course.
Because it is hurting their business.
The 3 cars parked in front of their business all day
Correct.
is not what they want.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, that'll be part of an overall proposal forthcoming.
Cool.
Good.
Great.
All right, thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for the
Take
work.
care.
Thank you.
Check warrants. Oh, the check warrants.
I've got them.
Oh, Daniel.
This is a big one with a fat check to the schools.
Yeah.
So I move to approve the total expenditures in the amount of $7,870,361.55, consisting of $7,754,518.78 for accounts payable and $115,842.87 for payroll for the period of March 27th, 2024 through April 9th, 2024.
Second. That was a tie.
All right,
Is
we've
he
got a
gonna
double
have it?
second on that.
I didn't even hear you. That's crazy. That was a tie. I was in my own
It
world.
was absolutely.
Everyone looked at me. I was like, did I do something wrong?
All right.
Tonight.
Give it to Izzy.
David, the notes taker, gets to decide. Moved and seconded. All those in favor of paying our bills? Aye. Very good. Let's do some select member concerns. Dan, you look concerned.
Not concerned, boy, it was a great day yesterday with the eclipse, man, that was great. I was just,
It
that
was
was just
amazing.
Yeah.
breathtaking, all 1 minute we had here in town, but it was well worth it.
Holy cow.
And I guess it was a good turnout downtown over at the
Yeah.
rec park.
I didn't go. I
There
drove.
was.
I stayed right in my backyard.
There was easily 300 or 400 people just at Marble Works. I mean, the whole hillside was.
I saw the
covered.
pictures on,
Yeah. It was a great sight.
on Digger today.
Beth reported that there were 1,200 estimated people at
Wow, 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 wow.
I know driving around yesterday, about 1 out of every 4 cars had an
Yeah.
out-of-state license.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say green plate.
No,
Okay.
I mean, 1 out of 4 is a lot.
It is.
There were a lot of people on
There
the
were a lot of
scene.
people in town. It was a great event, and like I said, why did it bring out the mosquitoes? I just don't
It's
understand that. I just don't
wacky.
understand that part.
It's magic.
They appeared right after it.
Yeah.
Sun comes out, mosquitoes were with them. Okay, that's all I got.
Thanks, Dan. Izzy?
Kudos to Parks and Rec.
Yay.
I went to the rec park yesterday. I had a great time.
Awesome.
Oh, your kids were there, right?
I avoided them.
Heather?
I'm good,
All right.
thank you.
Frederick?
I noticed in the newspaper there was a big legal notice about the New England Hydro project on the falls. And having been through a few prior hydro proposals over the years, I got online and looked at that docket number, and I emailed what I found to David. In the past, the town has gone through asked for party status for these proposals, just so we receive the correspondence and have the information on it. And in the world of the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, the process of getting party status is called having a motion to intervene. That sounds hostile, and I don't mean that our interest in being informed is at all hostile. But one party has already intervened in opposition to this, the American Whitewater Association. So I sent that also to David. There's a timeline. This is not urgent.
Yeah.
And, Kathleen probably remembers doing this maybe with some prior hydro applicants, but there are forms in our archives that the town attorney has previously used for us to file for party status. I just think it's good practice to do that and to keep informed. If you'd like what I shared with David, the diagrams of where this would be and what are available, and I could save some time, or David could send some time, send that around if people are interested. And this isn't urgent, doesn't have to happen tonight or anything. It just, at some point, I think there's a month or so before the parties have to request this.
Can New England Hydro add us as a party? Can we
No,
do it
it's
as a friendly, or does it?
It's the reviewing body that does that.
Don't we have party status statutorily on this?
Since we are the landowner in this case, it seems a little bit different from the Anders home situation, but I can look into it.
We were a landowner, in fact, that's in 1981 when the town voted to acquire the Jessica Swift Park, was so that the town could be a landowner and have additional say in how it was constructed, the impact on the businesses and so forth. Under the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, under the Federal Power Act, Google on the Federal Power Act if you'd like, 1920, an applicant gets the right of eminent domain when they get
Wow.
and they can condemn the rights or expropriate the rights needed for their project, including from municipalities. So ask Benj about it, definitely. But it's a simple matter to do that, and obviously a friendly working relationship with any developer is what we seek. But there are impacts in construction.
Sure.
This does involve their access, separating the Marble Works Park from the pedestrian bridge. Just saying, people will have some concerns about it.
Sure.
Is this the project that we endorsed moving forward?
It is.
It-
Brian, you got anything for concerns and comments?
I had a great time yesterday. The kids, everybody was home, and we had 71.4% from out of state, so guess we're tracking with the rest of the kids.
Excellent. We ventured north to Richmond for a couple extra minutes of totality to my sister-in-law's. I was silly enough, taking 116, not 116, Silver Road up to 116, and it was backed up maybe a mile. And I turned around and found a better route going north, and spent an hour in traffic coming south through Bristol on the other side of it. But there's so few things that the anticipation is not greater than the experience, and this was certainly one of them. Holy cow.
It was amazing.
Yeah, if I did not understand the Copernican understanding of the solar system, I would have been trying to figure out how best to appease God, for sure. Anyway, an awesome event,
Yeah, it was beautiful.
truly. We are going to have an executive session, I believe, just the select board. Is that correct, Brian?
Did you want to do a quick update at the start of it, Kathleen, and then a few stuff and that?
All right.
That sounds good, Ryan.
I'm gonna
Contract.
pause the recording here.
The,
We gotta go into session?
You have to,
Motion first, yeah.
so the motions aren't here. Do you want me to bring up the prior agenda and take us into executive session?
Sure, that'd be great.
Let me see if I can find it. What is it for, contracts and just contracts or personnel matter? Which,
Both.
I'm sorry,
Both.
both?
Yeah.
Okay. Bear with me.
No worries. The clock is right, by the way.
Yeah, finally. Twice a day, right?
I think this is it. I'll move, a motion to find the, I'll move, I don't understand this motion here.
Is this premature disclosure?
Am I in the wrong one?
I don't know.
This is the motion for the contract and then the motion for, how about I just move that the premature general public knowledge regarding negotiation of a contract and a personal matter will clearly place the town at a substantial disadvantage because the discussion will divulge the town's position on the contract provisions to be negotiated.
Sounds great.
Can you tell those are not my normal
Second.
words?
There we go. Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Where were you? You're always
Aye.
You were
Aye.
asleep. You literally were
I
asleep.
further move to enter into executive session. Do we need to say with the inclusion of town manager and assistant town manager to discuss the negotiations of a contract and personal matter as allowed under Title I, Section 313A1A?
And they will be present for the contract matter and not for the personnel matter.
Thank you for the clarification.
Moved,
Second.
seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We enter executive session at 8:47
Now you
PM.
can stop.